Oh, folks. I make a habit of going through the court documents, the actual court documents, not the evidence, the actual motions, and all that legal maneuvering and shit that, the two sides did in this case. And I gotta tell you, I just found something that I'm sitting here asking myself, how the fuck did I or anybody else not see this yet? Other people, of course, have obviously seen it, but I don't think that the general public fully understands the implications of this. This document shows that Manitowoc and Calumet County got dirtier than a two-bit hooker in the back of a strip club during Super Bowl. Jesus Christ. All right, so, and as usual, I'll leave a link down below. So this was filed on June 16th of 2006 by our buddies Strang and Buting. And this is defendant's notice concerning interference with right to counsel. Now, at first, this sounds like, okay, this has something to do with the hall box conveniently timed lawsuit. But then I started reading. And it has nothing to do with the hall box at all. This has to do with Calumet County and Manitowoc, I'm sure, playing the dirtiest possible pool. Stephen Avery by counsel now gives notice to the court and opposing counsel about a potential infringement on his right to counsel under the 6th and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution. He puts the court and the state on notice that any further inquiry of Orville Jacobs, an inmate at the Calumet County Jail, will constitute deliberate elicitation of information about the pending charges from Mr. Avery by an agent of the state, contrary to Mr. Avery's right to counsel. So essentially what this means is that investigators went and spoke to Avery's cellmate with basically pumping him for information. And on the surface, that looks like it's legit to a degree. Jailhouse snitches, I have a real fucking issue with. There's always an angle. Always an angle. No exceptions. But then it got juicier. Discovery materials disclosed by the state reveal that Mr. Jacobs repeated to agents of the state certain statements by Mr. Avery on April 14th of 2006. As of April 14th, on the information now available to defense counsel, it appears that the state did not deliberately elicit information from Mr. Avery about the pending charges through Mr. Jacobs. So that sounds like, okay, they did talk to him, but they didn't, go to him and say, well, hey, aren't you Avery's cellmate? We'd like to talk to you. That's not what happened. But here is what happened. Any further inquiry of Mr. Jacobs about Mr. Avery's statements would support a strong inference that the state has encouraged Mr. Jacobs at a minimum to keep his ears open or otherwise obtain statements about the pending charges from Mr. Avery. For purposes of the Sixth Amendment right to counsel, deliberate elicitation of information by agents of the state is broader than interrogation, and Mr. Jacobs' role may rise to that level. It gets juicier. Wait, you're going to love this shit. Concern about Mr. Jacobs' proximity to Mr. Avery in the Calumet County Jail is heightened by the fact that CCAP reveals no obvious reason for Mr. Jacobs to be in jail at all. There was no reason for him to be incarcerated. According to CCAP, Mr. Jacobs has no open cases pending in any of the 71 counties in Wisconsin. The fuck? Okay, so we've got a guy in jail who has no reason to be in jail, and they didn't think that wasn't going to be suspicious. Mr. Jacobs does have 2 closed cases from Calumet County in 2006, which total forfeitures of $375 and $249, which are due April 21st and April 20th, respectively. CCAP shows both forfeitures are still due, meaning he had some court cases. They went against him, and he had some fines that he had to pay, but the fines weren't due in court yet. His due date hadn't come up, so there was really no reason for him to be in jail on those charges. Possibly then, Mr. Jacobs is serving a commitment in lieu of payment of the forfeitures. Okay, seems legit. But that would not explain his presence in the Calumet County Jail on or before April 12th, since neither forfeiture had come due. There may be some other valid explanation for Mr. Jacobs' presence in the Calumet County Jail not disclosed by the CCAP records, or that defense counsel may have missed. For that reason, Mr. Avery requests that the court inquire of the state the reasons for Mr. Jacobs' presence in the Calumet County Jail and make the answer a matter of record in this case. Wherefore, Stephen Avery requests an inquiry on the record into the reasons for the presence of Orville Jacobs in the Calumet County Jail with Mr. Avery. He also gives notice that he will consider any further state inquiry of Mr. Jacobs about statements allegedly made by Mr. Avery about the pending charges to be deliberate elicitation of information from Mr. Avery, contrary to his federal and state constitutional rights to counsel. Okay, folks, so here's what that means. We all know about jailhouse snitches. That's fucking run-of-the-mill standard operating procedure, unfortunately. Because, I'm sorry, but you can't trust anything that comes out of a jailhouse snitch's mouth. There we go. But here's the thing. This is no ordinary jailhouse snitch. Because there was no reason for this snitch to be in jail in the first fucking place. None. Not a fucking reason. I looked into Mr. Jacobs' record, and the only things that I found were, let's see, a traffic citation from 91. But, you know, there's no reason for that to be there. And then from 2006, disorderly conduct charge. But that was in January of 2006. And the pay update wasn't until later in the month in April. So there was really no reason. There were no recent charges. None. None whatsoever. There were no recent arrest records. Nothing. Nothing. Beyond January of 2006. Not a fucking thing. So there was no reason for Orville Jacobs to be in jail with Stephen Avery except... That's right, spying for the cops. What the fuck is that? That sounds like Fassbender. That sounds like his style of doing shit. But get this, I did find one thing. I found that Mr. Jacobs is on the hook for $4,400 since 1999 and has yet to pay it. Small claims court. Looked like some sort of rental bullshit. It's possible that Fassbender promised him that shit would go away if he could get him the information that he wanted. Yeah. So apparently what started all this shit is Jacobs was being escorted back to his cell block by a guard, as is usual. And he asked the guard, you know, is it possible for me to get transferred? And she asked him, are you having problems with Avery? He's like, not really. He won't shut up. You know, he's getting kind of annoying. And once he explained to her what was kind of sort of going on, she said, well, do you want to talk to an investigator about any of this? And he said, no, I don't think that's necessary. That's when Wiegert and Fossbender decided to enter into the picture. I'm not going to go into all of what actually went down in this report. I'll throw the link down below and you can check it out yourself. But essentially, Fossbender is at it again. He's at his old tricks. And let me tell you something, folks. That lovely little fucking award that he received for his stellar and outstanding work on the Avery case, I wonder how long they would let him keep that award once they found out the shit he fucking pulled in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this link down below. Don't forget to subscribe to me here on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter, MamaPhoenix6. And don't forget to boogie on over to cluetv.net to see what we got going on over there. Thank you all very much for watching. We'll see you soon.